Squeegee and Ink podcast, episode 26 with Hannah from I Dress Myself. Hi Hannah.
Hello. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. This is going to be a really good episode because I've been doing a deep dive on...
The pressure!
Okay, no pressure. Okay, would you mind telling us what your business is called and what are the kind of like main drivers behind your business?
Sure. So the business is called I Dress Myself. And yeah, it's all about sustainability. So we kind of see that as three parts. So the first part is it's got to be good quality, like a nice looking product that the customer is going to be happy with. Then it's got to last well, otherwise, there's no point. But lastly, we try and source the most sustainable garments that we can. So generally it's organic cotton or recycled materials, eco-friendly inks, so sort of all water-based inks, no plastisol, no discharge, plastic-free embroidery. So just looking to see what we can do to still make good quality products, but create less of an impact.
Yeah, so I've noticed that you kind of have the same supplier as us. Do you just keep to one supplier so that you've kind of got in control of what's coming into the business?
So we use Stanley Stella for most of our products. They do some really nice garments. We love that everything that they do is sustainable. It's not just sort of part of a range. Their stock levels are good. The surface of, all about this, the surface of a garment gives a really nice, smooth surface for good quality prints. Great colors, great styles. So we do use them for most of our stuff, but sometimes Neutral, sometimes Continental Clothing for their, Earth Positive or salvage ranges. Mantis do some really good stuff. There's some other people that we use. It depends.
How do you find as a business, and have you ever found a problem with people coming in and they specifically want something like a Gildan or something that doesn't have any of the ethical accreditations or something? How do you as a business owner kind of push away that business, or do you just kind of try and bring them into educate them a little bit into the garments?
It's a bit of everything. So when we started, because I guess we started in 2006, I think. So I mean, when we were doing the same thing then, everybody was asking us why. Oh no, I don't think I want water-based inks, it won't be as good. Oh, you can't do white prints on black, so we can't. I've heard it's not possible. So everyone assumed it would be poorer quality. And they had fixed ideas about what they wanted. And initially there wasn't much choice. So when we started, I mean, Stanley Stella isn't in existence then. And in fact, the Earth Positive range hadn't started. Continental Clothing did a few organic cotton things, but it was like black, navy, gray, you know what it's like. We encouraged people to use organic cotton, and we put less of a markup on the organic cotton to make it more preferable to people compared to the markup on a standard cotton or other things. And over the years, because we were talking about what we were doing, we could specialize in it more and more, and it attracted the customers. So over the years, people became interested. So now it's really rare. It has happened once in the last year that I can think of, but it's not often that people will come and say, I want this, and we can't give them a sustainable alternative. Even if it's sort of, they want this, say a Gildan product in this color, we can match it with something similar. And they wouldn't be coming to us. Well, they might not be coming to us. They're likely to be coming to us because they do want to find a sustainable garment.
I found exactly the same thing. I was quite scared to completely pull all those products off and just offer Stanley Stella because I could control it, but I didn't have any kickback at all. And to be honest, the jobs where they are super adamant about it, I don't want anyway.
Absolutely. That's it's really rare. There's such a great range of colors and styles now that and actually the quality is better than most of the standard garments that you can get. So why wouldn't you?
I know. So there's this slight topic around I was talking, I don't, are you a vegan person? Because you kind of got like
I
vegan
am
business.
No,
Okay.
the business is vegan. So partly for environmental reasons, but a lot of our customers, they want to make sure that the garments and the methods used on the garments, they haven't been tested on animals and haven't got any animal products in them. But our business goes a little bit further in that. So I don't know, the plant, you know, if we have milk in the kitchen, the business has bought, it will be plant milk. If we get food in for everybody at the end of the month, we always get vegan food. So, I mean, some people in the business are vegan, but you don't have to be.
Yeah.
And I don't know, my diet is mostly vegan, but I'm not completely vegan. So it is different for different people, but the business is vegan.
Yeah. So with that in mind, like how have you managed to find out about like all the different chemicals and things being vegan? Because often those kind of ink companies and the chemicals and the clean chemicals, they're not saying vegan certified like Stanley Stella are now doing for t-shirts. So
yeah, I mean, Stanley Stella, we asked them a few years ago when our customers started asking us about their products and asked them to get certification. So they have. I mean, most people, we go back and we just ask them about their products. So all of our suppliers, we've gone back and we've asked about what most things are. It's always good to check. There's a few things that sort of red flag certain glues. There are certain inks. My background's in biochemistry and genetics, so I quite like this side of things, but it's just chasing down and asking for confirmation from everyone. And, you know, it just needs to go back through the chain, everybody asking the person before them and checking. And once you've got written confirmation, some people get certification and that's great. But I mean, there is, to a certain extent, we have to trust our suppliers that, and I guess understand a bit about what ingredients might be required for certain things.
Do you mind telling us what products and chemicals you found to be the best? Like
you're asking the wrong person.
They're like, do you know like so, roughly what brands of ink or chemicals that you?
So ink, sure. So I have to admit, I am not a screen printer.
I know.
So if you get too technical, I know quite a lot about screen printing, obviously. I'm not a screen printer. So yes, the permaset inks, we use those mostly. So they're made by a company called Colourmaker, who are based in Australia. The inks are beautiful, they're really lovely quality. The range that, I forget what they're called. I think it's the permatone inks that where you print onto the lighter garments. They are all certified organic with the Soil Association. The other ones haven't been, not because they're less eco-friendly, just because for the amount that they sell it, it costs too much to certify all of those inks. And we know the managing director quite well, having worked with them for 15 years, I guess. He's a chemist. When he bought the business, reformulated everything and took it right back to how can we get these inks as clean as possible. And if you do leave them in the pot for too long, they do, you know, they will go moldy eventually in the pot if they have you know, if there's air going in the pot, which is amazing. You know, it just goes to show.
I thought it was me, like
no. I mean, they are just that. You know, they haven't got nasty chemicals in them. So yes, you have to look after them, and they do have a shelf life. Obviously, that doesn't affect them once they've been printed and they're on the garment, but that's how good they are in terms of you know, how eco-friendly they are.
Okay. What is your perspective on Plastisol inks and why they're not environmentally friendly?
Okay, so I mean, in the old days, Plastisol inks, I guess when they came into being, they were like this magic thing where suddenly there was you know, the prints with the old type of water-based inks, there was so much you couldn't do. Whereas Plastisol inks, I guess they were magic. People were, oh my God, we can do like this 20 color print or whatever. Really but yeah, PVC and phthalates were in the inks initially. Now I know that the plasticizers are different, and a lot of people, you can get plastisol that don't contain phthalates, but they contain something very similar. I mean, they have to have a plasticizer that's very similar. So it probably isn't as harmful, but it's not going to be, you know, there is harm in there.
Does that mean that like water-based inks don't have plastics in? Like...
They have the acrylic base, yeah. So they are slightly different, but it's not on the same scale, I guess.
That's the question that I keep like trying to answer and get like a proper,
yeah.
I need to see it in like a chart or something, because now the plastisol inks are being cleaned up. The inks themselves as like a range are vegan, for example, like international coatings.
Mm-hmm.
So vegan printers like myself and other ones that I've interviewed recently, they're saying these seem to be the best ones for printers on a really small scale. You're on a bigger scale, so you're able to tackle like the energy efficiency side of like curing the inks.
Yeah. I mean, like, it does take a bit more energy to cure the water-based inks. Yes, it does, but it doesn't have the same number of chemicals in there. So you're using water as a solvent rather than solvents. And, you know, that in itself is massively kinder. We don't have this whole sort of loads of solvents in the atmosphere at work, which can be harmful to this, you know, people's central nervous systems. We're not putting that into the waterways. There are, you know, lots of levels upon which that's better.
I understand. So can I ask one more question about like waste and water-based ink printing, if you know about it? Like, I've heard other studios, when they like finished for the day, they might have to like scrape the ink off the screens and put it in one giant tub and maybe turn that tub black.
And turn that tub what, sorry?
Black. No? They put like pigment in it and they just make all their black ink out of all the other ink.
That's quite clever, actually. I've never heard of that. We try and mix as closely for each colour to Pantone references the exact amount we're going to need for that job. Obviously, there is a little bit more. There is some waste, and we usually dry that out. So we keep and reuse what we can. So some jobs are repeat jobs or colours that we know we're going to be using. There are standard range of colours that we use often. But where we've mixed a specific color and we're like, oh, we've got, you know, too much left over, this does happen. If it's a small amount, we actually dry it out on screens. So we keep them on that. We've got sort of a big conveyor dryer and we dry them out on that. It's a bit of a weird process and it looks pretty crazy, but it means we can get rid of it as solid waste. And it's a relatively small amount, but it's safer for the environment because it's not going into the waterways at all. Where it's any more significant amount, we donate it to the local college. So, you know, every now and again, drive around with boxes in our car, like the car of loads of inks. And for them, it's fantastic. You know, give them thousands and thousands of pounds worth of inks, but inks that are of no use to us and can be really useful for them.
I'm getting the weirdest thing happen, like when I'm hello.
Yeah, and you're getting,
it's like this woo tinniness. I was trying to recreate it, but I can't recreate it now. Maybe when I don't know. I think it's okay. It's just freaking me out, so I'm a bit like hesitant. But I can start again. We can cut.
Yeah, I mean, you sound beautiful to me.
Do I? It's not. I can hear it myself. Anyway, we're all good. So you've run the business for quite a long time. So like, has it always been you as the director, or have you like brought in partners or like changed the dynamics in that way?
Yeah, so well, it's me and my now husband that started off, and initially I mean, it's funny to think back, but so he was we knew some people that were selling some secondhand equipment and a load of plastisol ink, you know, all the inks that they had. It was an old surf shop. I was writing up my PhD and just working there one day a week, and knew that they were selling this equipment. And my cousin said, well, why doesn't Pete buy it? He could set up a t-shirt business. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. And I was like, oh, I know, I'll help you with the accounts. So that's how I started. And of course, as soon as we start looking into it, it's really exciting and really interesting, setting up a business, looking at supply chains and policies, and how are you going to set up a pricing. actually I love that side of things. It's really interesting. And you know, quite quickly we moved across from we sold the plastic links that we bought as a batch and moved across. But when we started off, we moved to Nottingham. The very first bit like of printing we did was in our house. So he was washing out screens in the shower, and we had an exposure unit in the cellar, and then we used in one of the bedrooms on the first floor. We had a carousel, but we could only ever put 2 arms on it because it was such a skinny room, so it just did this.
Yeah, I like that you've got those kind of humble beginnings. That's really cool.
Yeah,
like,
it was fun, but it was hard. I mean, we made no money for a while, but I guess, you know, that's how all businesses, or most businesses, start. And then we moved into, we had a studio in Nottingham on the 2nd floor of a massive, like next to the canal, this big old industrial sort of warehouse, beautiful building. The 2nd floor, the couriers hated us, obviously. But yeah,
did you like, so you just grew out of those kind of spaces and managed to, how did you like?
I mean, only relatively recently. I guess when we first started, it was more about the lifestyle, really. We've never been massively interested in making money. I mean, that's, I guess now that we're a bit older, we're like, oh, that would be kind of nice. But initially it was like, we wanted to be we're part of the music scene and making zines, and we put on nights, and it was sort of part of a lifestyle thing, really. It was a lot of fun. And then when we moved to Frome about 10 years ago. So we're in North Somerset near Bath. And we had children by then. Actually, Pete was unwell. He had chronic fatigue for a few years. So things were really hard for different reasons for a little while. And then more recently, you know, Pete's well again. Our girls are older, and yeah, we can put more energy into the business, and loving it. Yeah, it's exciting.
There's something that I spotted on your website that I haven't seen other printers and embroiderers do, is like move over to like something that you might not even think of initially as like environmentally friendly thread.
Yes.
Can you talk about that decision? And
well, yes, for a while we'd been thinking it would be great to do embroidery, but every time we looked into it, it's like, well, it's polyester, and we don't want to bring virgin polyester into the world. Yeah, so we waited until we could find a plastic-free version, and lots of rayon thread is. So we did start off with the Madeira thread, and we used sulky for a while when Madeira didn't have the vegan accreditation, although it turned out it was vegan all along. They just didn't know whether it was, so that was a bit annoying. So then back to Madeira, and now onto the census green, and that's really a lovely thread. So it is more expensive, but it is a bit stronger, which makes it's nicer to use. And also it's basically a completely closed loop system. So rayon is made from wood pulp. It is a bit, you know, like bamboo is, lyocell is a sort of version. There's lots of versions of the same thing, basically made from wood pulp. But to get the fibers, it's quite usually a chemically intensive process, or if not, it uses a lot of water to do the same thing. If those chemicals are handled properly, it can be done really well. So the new Madeira census green, it has a completely closed loop system. So those chemicals are used over and over, and they reuse their water. But depending on where you get any rayon from, if you know, there are places where it's not handled properly and it does leach out into the environment and can be harmful. So it's a tricky one. Everything's a minefield. You know, you can never, well, it's not possible to do everything perfectly, but, you know, little step by little step, and every year there's more options, and it's, a path, I guess.
So, like, you're talking about, like, the business side of it being where you are you, like, in charge of, like, all the kind of forecasting and budgets and, like, the money side of the business? And
yes, although I mean we work quite intuitively, so I mean neither of us have got much of a background in business, so in some ways we're kind of making it up as we go along. I mean, we love board games, and I guess we play it like a game. So it's not like we're doing anything daft. There is reasoning behind everything that we do. But a lot of what we do is doing the right thing and trusting that it's going to come out all right. And so far, I mean, obviously there's ups and downs. All businesses have that, but it's going well. And yeah, as things started to get bigger, we have brought in more processes, but we've tried to make sure that all of the people involved in the process have the ability, they know that they're allowed and encouraged to improve upon that all of the time and to try new things. And it doesn't have to be, you know, you always do it like this. We encourage people to try and think, you know, like every team member knows that we want them to look for different ways to do things, and whether that will reduce waste or mean something's done more efficiently or gives a better print, or, you know, whatever it is, we're trying to sort of just improve, I guess, all of the time.
And does that come from like being a leader? Does that come from like, because you kind of got to, how do you kind of like discipline a team of like adults who are just meaning to do well if like one person just keeps cocking up and doing the same mistakes over and over again? And you're just
we've had this a few times. Well, not too many times, a couple of times. Most people, yeah, it's tricky. I mean, actually, it's the hardest part. It's the best and the worst part of running a business, I think, is the team. So the thing I'm kind of most proud of really is on a Friday, if I get to a Friday and everything's gone well, the business is making money and everybody's happy, we had a good week, honestly, I have the best weekend because I come home and just feel so good. But you know, it's hard. Well, we are a relatively small team still, but it's still, with a small team, it's often there's someone that's going to be unhappy about something. If it's people making the same mistakes over, that is a tricky one. I mean, generally we have so we have a RODS meeting once a week, so representative of departments. So everybody, we kind of have broken a business down into departments. Most people everyone's cross-skilled, so people have maybe like a one main place, but they have a second place where they'll help, and maybe a third place that they'll help. So if the screen printing's busy but embroidery's quiet, or, you know, any kind of, someone's ill, suddenly we've got this big deadline, we can switch everybody around. It means we got it from Lush, they call it their LSD days, learning and shadowing days.
Okay.
So
that seems really clever way of doing it. I've heard
it's really nice because it improves communication, it improves trust between people. People start to understand, like, rather than, oh my god, that person's got it easy, they're like, oh, actually that is quite hard, and maybe if I do this will make that person's job easier, or maybe they could do this and that would make my job easier. So it's helped in a lot of ways, but then a representative from each department goes to the RODS meeting and we'll bring up any problems that have come up the week before. So people learn quickly because we'll talk about it. So, you know, what issues or, you know, close calls have we had? What can we do differently to make sure it doesn't happen again? And I mean, it does take out a chunk of time, you know, maybe an hour every week. And that is an hour where there's several people not working on other things, but I think it saves us more money in the long run. It certainly saves us a lot of stress in the long run.
And people not like festering on problems that they might not have brought to you otherwise.
It's like that pressure valve. So yeah, it's good. It does work well. And although the representatives tend to be the same people from the department, the people that are more interested in like coordinating things and communicating, I guess, but everybody knows they're welcome to come. So they can either feed into someone and get fed back to, or they're welcome to come if they've got anything to say or if they want to bring up, or just they haven't been for a while and want to be in on the loop, then anyone can come along.
How big is the team?
But I mean, sometimes still problems do. Sorry.
How big is the team?
So it's 11 of us at the moment. So we are a small team. We I mean, this is part of a reason why the cross-skilling has worked so well, because before, when people just worked in one department, if a department was really busy, we'd have to call in bank staff to help them out. But actually, we realized it's a really inefficient way of doing things, because the bank staff would know less about the business generally. And also, I guess we don't like doing this. Well, not that it's a 0 hours exactly, but it's nice to give people stable employment where they know every week, every month, how much they're going to be getting paid. And it's much easier to manage that if you've got a workforce, a team that can move around and help each other.
How did you find all of the, sorry to bring it up, but how did you find like the COVID thing and like reacting to that? Did you have to lay off staff and bring them back? And like, how are you forecasting what kind of team size you're going to need in the next few years?
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? We were lucky in that we could run the whole time. So we initially panicked because we had been quiet, I guess, a couple of months coming up to them. So that I think the February, March, we were really quiet. So by the time everything hits the end of March, it was awful. And we furloughed everybody. And me and Pete, it just came back to me and Pete. So I was emailing, I don't know, starting 6, 7 in the morning, sometimes working till 1 at night, just okay, I'm gonna have to do all of the emails. Pete was doing he was going to work, and our kids were young enough then that they could do their own schooling pretty much from home, but I had to be at home with them. He was on his own at work, doing everything. But I think it was only maybe 4 or 6 weeks before we needed the first person back, and then the next person back. Every week we just got another person back until I think we only had maybe 3 members of staff then. Luckily, we were a bit short-staffed when it hit. And then the person that we had been about to employ, we were like, we can employ you now. Can you still come? And he started. And actually, I mean, that year we were massively busy. I think we most of what we do is for retail, not that much of what we do is for events. So we were really, really lucky. I mean, we hadn't realized that would ever be a thing. I guess like no one did. So maybe we did have our eggs in one basket, but we're quite lucky that just in this respect, it was the right basket. So a lot of people wanting to set up new t-shirt businesses, and a lot of events companies that couldn't do the events, but maybe had a merch arm of their business. So we did temporarily lost our biggest clients because they weren't opening, galleries and things like that. So, but they, then later came back. We were lucky.
That's what you mean by retail. You mean like small brands and like shops? Like what's the spread of customers?
I mean, different. So it can be very small brands sometimes, but also we do work for the Tate, Catherine Hamnet, Lush. A lot of those things are retail. They're just bigger. Cannondale. Lots of sort of businesses that it's going to be sold to a customer, our client's customer at some point. So particularly a lot of our customers, the ones that were selling online, obviously could carry on, and everyone was buying online. It was just our clients that sell from a physical location that couldn't open and continue that.
I've had a bit of experience working with like the massive companies, and I feel like they are quite difficult to navigate in terms of like they want like long payment terms and things.
Yeah.
Have you had to just kind of match into what the payment terms that they're used to, or are you able to set your own, or have you got any advice for smaller companies trying to get into that kind of working relationship?
It's hard. So and it depends. We would generally say to new customers, after we've had the first 3 orders, we can look at payment terms, and we might do net 30. Sometimes we keep it a bit shorter. But for example, the Tate, we started working with them when we were quite small, really, and you just have to you either agree to their terms or you don't get the job. So yeah, we just had to see, yeah, that's fine. Oh God.
I know, because you're putting up tens of thousands sometimes, and then
Yeah.
they're the people who I found it hardest to get the money back off, because then you get like pushed around the offices,
Yeah, the
like, oh
accounts
no, they're on
department.
maternity leave, and it's like,
Yeah,
I'm not on maternity leave. I can't eat tomorrow because yeah, it's harsh though, isn't it?
It
So
is.
like,
It can be really hard. I think just building up gradually is good, because it is quite nice to know you've got some of those payments coming in, but it has to be a gradual thing.
So what are the like kind of, do you have anyone to talk to about the business and like just like other decisions apart from with Pete? Like, do you have any like people you can bounce ideas off?
Yeah,
mentor type?
so we do have a business coach that we speak to online every, I think it's every two or 3 months, and that's sort of it's only an hour and a quarter, and it's a real sort of just a good chance for a catch up. Often, well, yeah, there'll always be something that we'll need to talk about, and a lot of it is just bouncing, having a third person to talk things through with, and hear it back from. And actually, often we'll feel like, oh, we haven't really done much. And then when we start talking about it, I say, oh yeah, and we come out feeling usually really good. And we've worked recently with a business consultant, so we met up for, I think it was a couple of hours every Friday for a little while, just to firm up some of our plans and ideas for moving forward and create more of a strategy, really. I guess we talk with a lot of people at work, a lot of the team. So we try, when we advertise and interview for roles, when we first started, I guess we ended up employing our mates, and that was fun. And they were really skilled, and it was good. But then we kind of moved towards, we've got to go for sort of the best skill, the highest skills we can get, and that'll be really useful for the business. And that's good in some ways as well. But we've realised that it's kind of got to be a bit of a mixture. So it's got to be someone that shares values, like that understands and is able to kind of align with the business values, and has good skills, and that it is possible to find that. But when the team generally kind of has aligned values, you're kind of already just naturally pulling in the same way. It's not like somebody's going to make a decision and it's going to be something crazy, because they're thinking generally in the same way. So that's been really important for us, I think.
Yeah, because I think a lot of small, very, very small businesses, even like one-man band type places, they wouldn't dream of getting any like mentor or like help at all with it, even though they're just tradespeople in themselves and they don't particularly have that business acumen. But I found actually that there is a lot of help, and it's often like government funded. And you can, if you don't know about HR, for example, and you're terrified to hire, you can go and take a free course on it, and it's like backed by the government, and there's
knowledge is so, it just helps you so many times. I would definitely recommend. Business coaches aren't necessarily that expensive, and it's just really useful to take the time to talk things through and get clarity on your own thoughts as much as anything. And particularly, I guess, me and Pete, we usually walk to work and we'll chat all the way there and all the way back about work generally. But sometimes it's just really important to have a third person to kind of throw different ideas or thoughts in, or if there's something I don't know, it just really helps.
I find that as well. They're kind of like I use my accountant is also like a kind of business mentor person. And we have like weekly chats, and I thought, I'm never going to want a weekly chat. I can't talk for 45 minutes on that every single week.
Wow, that's amazing.
I know, we do it every single week, and I think it's also reciprocal for her, because she gets to hear what problems are like for businesses as well.
Yes.
So, and then she gets to like see what kind of like marketing we're doing and what she could like do as well. So we're like constantly bouncing off each other. Like
that's perfect.
Yeah. So like, what kind of marketing and advertising do you do to get customers, or have you found it very organic, or do you target certain industries?
Yeah, so this is sort of part of working with our business consultant recently. We had kind of a quiet patch end of last year and quite early this year. We're like, oh no, this is terrible. So we really started looking into, you know, what can we do to start to target the businesses we want to work with. And then we were just poised, ready to kind of let's look at taking someone on to help us with this and target it. And then suddenly all of the businesses that we wanted to target started contacting us. We're like, oh my God, we've just been contacted by 3 of the top 30 lists. And like, oh. So I don't know, we've been...
So you have a physical list of the people that you're trying to get?
I mean, I call it the top 30 list, and at the top it has the title top 30 list, but it's not 30 and it's always changing. But it's just yeah, we think about all of the people that I guess in our eyes we're like, oh, they should be using us. And yeah, who do we want to work with? Who do our values align with so closely that we can just see that it would work well? And you know, yes, we are really lucky. We've got some great clients, but you know, we would like to grow the business. There are other people we would like to work with, but right now, the last month or so has just been crazy with lots of amazing potential new clients and people coming to us wanting meetings. So yes, right now we've kind of like paused on the going out there and back to the, okay, we'll deal with Wallace and meet with the people and see where it takes us.
So like if you did have to, say if it wasn't like really busy at the moment and you were kind of forced to go out and target those people, what kind of approach would you do as a business of like your kind of size?
So it's actually really difficult to get hold of the right person in a purchasing department, to find out a name and get in touch with the person that you want to contact. So it is something we really struggle with, which is why it's so wonderful when they then contact us. But yes, I mean, trying to find a contact, telling them all about the business, sending free things. Can we send you a sample pack? We'd love to show you what we're doing. Emails, phone calls, whatever you can do. Often it's great to do social media with a sort of more mid-range businesses. Often the people at the top don't feel comfortable giving up the responsibility of the social media side of things, so you can contact that way, or contact that way and say, oh, I spotted this in your one of your posts and we'd love to send you, or this might be useful, and who could I send this sample to? And often you can get a sort of a name in that way. But yeah, sending sample things, emailing, asking, what can we help you with? What projects have you got coming up? We'd love to be involved. Tell us what you're planning to do, and we'll see. We'd love to help you.
Yeah, because it's like everyone thinks, so you're kind of using, am I right in thinking you're kind of like actively going like very, very hyper specific with like sending them tangible samples and trying to get the actual name of the buyer?
So I'm talking about this. We've done it a few times, but I mean, we don't have major experience in the actually going out with a direct sales. It's something we keep saying we should do, and we've talked about how we would do it, and we've done it a few times, and a few times even with some success. But it's a really hard thing to do. I think really we'd probably need to take someone on to do that for us, because everybody else has a bit of time here or there, but it's quite sporadic. And I think it probably needs to be quite a strategic, planned. This is when the follow-up email is going to be. This is when another follow-up email or phone call will be. This is when I'll send something else. And we've had a few bursts of doing things when we've been quiet, but it's not really, I guess, maybe it's never really massively worked for us that way. And what has worked for us is trying to do the best with the customers that we have, and talking about what we're doing on social media, trying to show via our website what's important to us and what we're doing. And I mean, I guess, it's relatively organic in the way that people have contacted us. Maybe we should just stick with that, actually.
I know, that's the thing, isn't it? It's because like I was going to say, like, you've got this, you can tap into the targeted approach if you wanted to, but then are you using your social media more like a CV kind of display board, like a kind of Pinterest board of what's going on?
Yeah, it's not very targeted. We take photos of a lot of the print jobs and embroidery jobs that we do, and when we have photos, we're like, oh, that's great, we'll contact the customer and say, is it all right if we use it, and would you like us to tag you? And most people say yes. Social media is so nice for sort of sharing what everybody's doing, and people love that networked approach. So yes, yeah, I guess so. We just want to show ourselves as making good things and working with great people, and luckily that is generally what we get to do. So we could probably target a lot more and really have quite a strategy about sort of, okay, this month we're going to target this, or you're way better. I don't know why you're asking me about social media. You're the queen. Yours is amazing.
The thing is that people think that the reason for our social media is the same as another screen printing studio's reason. It's completely different.
Yeah,
we're
you found a real niche.
But the funny thing is, we've uncovered, so we're actually, most of our work now is we don't have any outside customers, like any. We don't work for anyone else. We just have our own brand, and we do all of our teaching stuff. We sell our screens and things. So that means that our customer base is made up of people buying t-shirts like directly from us and other screen printers.
Yeah.
So, but the funny thing is that by doing all this like educational content, we get inundated with customer requests thinking that we're just like, I think the secret is that if you're educating someone in an industry, then other people come and see you and say, well, that person's educating them. They must be really knowledgeable.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go to them. I'm not going to go to the people they're teaching. I'm going to go to that one.
Well, it totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Apart from you're not doing like it for everybody else.
I know, but what's happened is now that I've actually got like a list on my desk of like 15, 20 different printers, and I just go, that one. You need to, and my whole Monday morning is just siphoning off jobs, which is like, which is something that other studios are like, would bite my hand off to have happen. And I'm trying to tell them that it's not doing things like, you don't do it, by the way, but like, it's not things like putting like a picture of some t-shirts and saying 20 for £100 offer thing. That's not it. It's
10% off if you order before Friday.
This sounds really harsh, but it's something that we found on the market stalls and like selling in person. It comes off as desperate, and as soon as you've got a whiff, I think people can smell desperation and they can see it.
Yeah.
So if you're like jumping on them when they're coming towards you and you're telling them the price and stuff, they back off because they can feel it.
Yeah, I don't like that approach when people try to sell to me like that.
It doesn't work on us.
Yeah. So. I know I guess with that sort of thing, the ideal is if you've got the shared values and you learn about what your client is doing, and then you think, how can I help with that? And, where is there a mutual benefit? There has to be a mutual benefit. It shouldn't be forcing them to buy something they don't need. It's like helping them to fulfill a need. And that has to be done for a payment that fits that job. So, obviously you need to be able to pay everybody, you need to pay for materials, everything needs to be done sensibly, but it is really about mutual fulfillment of needs, I guess.
Yeah.
And creating a relationship or a partnership where that can happen.
Yeah. And I think it's just so happened that like your ethics and stuff being so at the forefront has just kind of like met with the last hurdle that's happening in society anyway, because there's a huge trend towards like vegetarianism, veganism, eco. All the kids, like all the young teenagers, they won't touch your stuff if it's not like if you're not screaming about it being environmental, because they're so up on it. They're much more up on it than their parents and the older generations that we used to deal with even like 10 years ago, who made the buying decisions. So I think you kind of, you've just like kind of grown as a business with society and
we're really, I mean, I guess we're really proud that we stuck with what we felt was right, because it was hard in the early days when everyone's saying, why are you doing, all the suppliers would come around and be like, why are you doing that? Well, just surely that costs you more. Surely you don't get as many jobs, and surely, oh, well, that's harder to print with water-based inks, and with plastisol inks, you can just leave them in a screen and go home for the weekend. So there were so many people telling us we were crazy, and I don't know, it just, we lived in a housing cooperative in Nottingham. Almost everybody we knew was vegetarian and vegan. We lived with loads of anarchists. I guess we were just very interested in doing things in alternative ways. We didn't necessarily fit in with any one group of that, but there were so many interesting ideas, and we wanted to do things in a way that felt right to us. So yeah, we're really bloody lucky that it worked out, but so far it has.
Just as, because basically like a lot of the people that I'm talking to at the moment, they're very like open with other studios. Have you found like recently you've been able to like have more conversations with other studios, or do you think like you are like around lots of closed off studios who don't want to collaborate and talk to each other?
Well, I mean, we've got our print brothers in Holland, so we're really good friends with Droplet Print in The Hague, and Franklin and his brother Peter are awesome. I guess we helped there, or Pete helped them set up. So when we started using the Permaset inks, we started using them. We're probably the first, well, it must have been first people in the UK to use them, but certainly the first people to use them, only water-based inks. And we had only just set up a business. They found us as they were looking to break into the UK market, because we had created our first environmental policy, and we were like so new to it. And they came to, the MD from Permaset Inks came over and visited us, and showed us these beautiful inks, these amazing samples, and we were like, we'd love to use them, but we can't afford to buy all new inks. Would you sponsor us? And they said yes. And so we actually got free ink for years. It was amazing. But in return, we made, in fact, if you have a look on YouTube, you can have a good laugh at Pete, but doing lots of, like, when he, I don't know, he was in his early 20s then, but putting together lots of videos, tutorials on how to use the inks and how to do staggered printing.
What do I YouTube? What do I Google?
Yeah, you will have to have a look. And we helped other people move across, because so many people, if you used to using plastisol inks and you tried to move across to water-based inks, people would struggle with that. And we were kind of a technical resource for Europe. And people contact us, and it'd be by email or by phone, and Pete would help to advise them on moving across. And that's how we came across Franklin, who was setting up Droplet Print, and he got on really well with Pete on the phone and just said, please come over and help me learn how to use them. And actually the main problem, I think, was he was using this old Hopkins press that just was useless. But Pete went over and taught him loads of things, spent the weekend there. And over the last decade or more, I guess, they visited, Pete visited again with Emma, who used to work for us a while ago. And then one of Franklin's DTG printers then came over and spent time, like a few days with us. And recently we went over again. So they're our print brothers, and we kind of catch up with them regularly to talk about successes, share ideas, or have a whinge, depending on how things are going. But yeah, we haven't really had much contact with other printers in the UK. But that's a shame. I guess nobody's reached out to us, but we're also guilty of the same thing.
It's interesting. Well, at least you don't feel isolated, because you've got your other
bros.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool. No, it's good. Like, do you want to have any like final thoughts on like where you see the industry, or like what we can all do to like improve, or like a little step that we can make in our studios to be a bit more environmentally friendly?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just having a look at every process. At the moment, we're looking at measuring carbon emissions, and that one's tough, but I think will be really interesting. And I think that's the way everyone's going to have to go. So Mantis, Stanley Stella, Earth Positive, you know, they're all starting to look at the t-shirt aspect, but I think we're going to all have to start looking in more detail at every aspect of a business, and that's going to be massive. But yeah, I mean, it's looking at everything. We look at our waste, so like the inks, the spare inks we can give to the college. We have a local crafting group that makes lots of things with our misprinted t-shirts. So they will cover over any prints, give them to refugees and homeless people, and they make blankets for premature babies, so the parent can kind of keep them close to them, so they've got the scent. And then, you know, we even save for silica packets that come with certain things, and we know somebody that reuses silica packets. We keep all of the bubble wrap, and we know people that send out via, you know, eBay store or Etsy or whatever, and they need packaging. So pretty much we try and reduce everything. If we can't find a use for it, crisp packets, they get ironed into like a heat sort of thermal blankets for homeless people. So everything we save, we've got a compost bin, like a hot composter in the kitchen for all of the food waste. So I mean, there are so many, like they're all little things, but actually if you start looking at every aspect and maybe just little bit by little bit, you can make quite a big difference, a big impact. Now it's really annoying because we have this big, I mean, our recycling, like we reuse most packaging, but we do have some recycling. But the waste bin is this massive waste bin, and they have this thing where they have to collect it I think it's every 2 weeks minimum. But it's only ever a tiny bit full. It's like, damn it, that's costing another, I don't know, 12 quid or whatever. Hardly anything.
You got it down to 12. Mine's bloody like 40 quid. No, that's
the
really,
swap details.
I know. That's a really good message, I think. Like, look, even if you're just changing the tiny things, and then once you're looking at it in a certain perspective, then you'll just make those changes naturally, I suppose.
And also, we encourage everyone in the business to look at it. So it's something we talk about from the job advert to in the interview, every appraisal, you know, everything that we do, it will be talked about. So it's not something somebody can be like, oh, I didn't know I was supposed to do that. It's like, you did.
That's really good. Thank you very much, Hannah. Really appreciate your time as well. No, I think that's given me a lot to think about as well, like on things that you feel like as a small studio aren't going to make a big impact maybe. And
yeah.
Silica packets.
Well, you're welcome to come and have a visit if you fancy. You're welcome anytime, not too far away.
I'll bring my thingy camera so I can go around.
Yes. And next time we see you at Printwear and Promotions, we'll go,
yeah, that'd be really nice. Yeah, and hopefully it'll be next year and nothing crazy will happen.
Fingers crossed.
Awesome. Okay, thank you very much for this, and
you're so welcome.
Yeah, I'll get in contact soon.
Yeah, lovely to speak to you. Thank you ever so much.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Bye.